Hello and welcome to a wonderful Thursday on Crypto. Oh my God, today I'm covering the A16z report on the latest and greatest in crypto. Something you should read, but in case you just kind of want a TLDR, that's what I'm here for. Let's dive right in. Bam! So for anyone who's unfamiliar, you've got A16z and of course their subset, which is A16z Crypto, a partner of whom is Chris Dixon. He just came out with the Read, Write, Own book and is a major proponent on institutional investing in cryptocurrency. Anyway, the long and short of it is that they're excited to share their 2025 State of Crypto report, and it's got a lot of good information just about the growth of the industry and some really fun numbers and metrics. I'm going to do my best to summarize it as quickly as possible and give you the juicy tidbits, but if you do want to read it, obviously it will be in the sources. Let's dive right in. So boom, we have it, the 2020 State of Crypto, and it opens up with, look, the last 3 years, crypto builders weathered a major market drawdown, political uncertainty, but continue to make significant infrastructure improvements. And a lot of what we're seeing now, a lot of the advancements and sort of the primetime readiness do come from the consistent building that happened even against the Biden admin. Traditional financial incumbents like Visa, BlackRock, Fidelity, JP Morgan Chase, and tech-native challengers like PayPal, Stripe, Robinhood are all launching crypto products. Blockchains now process over 3,400 transactions per second, 100x growth in the last 5 years. Stablecoins being absolutely nutters at 46 trillion. It says 9 trillion adjusted in annual transactions, rivaling PayPal and Visa. Now, the difference between this 46 trillion and 9 trillion is that the 9 trillion they're counting as payments back and forth, swipe to pay, whereas the 46 trillion is largely financial transactions like borrowing, lending, locking capital up for yield and things of that nature. And of course, over 175 billion sits in Bitcoin and Ethereum exchange traded products, which is all something new. So they come at us with a bunch of great charts, and I do highly recommend diving in if you just want some more meat on this. But the crypto market develops in cycles, a feedback loop between prices, developers, and users. This is a very large conversational topic right now in the industry. Is the 4-year cycle dead? How do we look at it? A lot of people are starting to say maybe it's just expanding, but either way, we can see some interesting additions, right? Like developer growth or crypto mobile wallet users and things of that nature. Now, we estimate there's roughly 40 to 70 million active users, and that's what they get at, with an increase of about 10 million over the last year. So if we look at 40, I mean, that's a massive number to say 10 million over the last year. And of course, they update with their methodology if you want to dive in a little bit more. But this is sort of how they break it down, right? 716 million global crypto owners. And they look at a lot of people as owners just holding these assets over time, not really being users. Then 181 million monthly active addresses and 40 to 70 million estimated monthly active users, with 10 million being added in the last year. And what they attribute this to is actually emerging markets. So here they come to say crypto is global. Different parts of the world appear to use it in different ways. Mobile wallet user, an indicator of on-chain activity, is growing fastest in emerging markets like Argentina, Colombia, India, Nigeria. In particular, Argentina has seen a 16x increase in crypto mobile wallet usage over the last 3 years amid an escalating currency crisis. So that's pretty fascinating to see. Remember, Bitcoin was originally devised for peer-to-peer payments. In the early days, I spent a lot of time in LATAM with the Bitcoin community because they looked at it as an inflation hedge, as a way just to save their cash, not to grow their cash. It was fundamentally different than what we see in the rest of the world. And they go on to say, developed nations use it differently. Activity in these countries, particularly Australia and South Korea, may be more focused on trading and speculation. And of course, they have the visual metrics to back it up. Now, Bitcoin, which still represents more than half of crypto's total market cap, hit an all-time high. So Bitcoin is still dominating, but we are beginning to see some real growth on obviously Ethereum and Solana entering the landscape here. Now, it's kind of funny that Dogecoin kind of remains dominant because Doge is like the original meme. So it is what it is. Now, as blockchains continue to scale and fee markets mature, new applications, certain metrics are becoming much more important. One of these is real economic value. And I think this is really fun. And they say here, Hyperliquid and Solana account for 53% of revenue generating economic activity. So here we have a breakdown, a share of network revenue, which is fees, tips, and additional sources of revenue generated. Keep in mind, what is so fascinating here about crypto land and blockchains is that, again, they're autonomous. They're just code. So all of the revenue garnered by these networks can and should be distributed to the asset holders. That's the whole concept. Now, under Biden and Gary Gensler, they tried to put fear into the heart of the industry to say, if you share your revenue, you're the security, and they wouldn't define securities. But now we're past that. The fee switches are flipping on, and things like Hyperliquid are using their revenue primarily to buy back the Hype token itself. So these are pretty interesting to see. And of course, we have Hyperliquid Hyperliquid coming out in force in 2025, and this is really nonstop. I mean, Jeff, their CEO, just went on TPBN and said, look, the scale of what Hyperliquid can do is the totality of finance. They are not going to stop at perps. They are looking at everything. We have also graphs around developer growth. Crypto is multi-chain with Ethereum and its L2s, Solana and Bitcoin attracting the most developers. Top blockchain by builder interest. And of course, we see Ethereum maintaining its dominance with Base coming in here as a really new and interesting series of developers. I mean, Base is going to be Coinbase's US distribution channel, but you also have Solana just increasingly growing. Bitcoin, still good to see people building on it. It's pretty tough, and there is a lot of growth to happen in Bitcoin land. Financial institutions have embraced crypto, obviously, and this is largely because of the things that you've heard from me, like the Genius Act. But what is crazy here is stablecoin-related mentions in SEC filings. Just look at this. Boom, up and to the right, and a lot of this in 2025 is obviously the administration change. Stablecoins are no longer niche. Major public companies are actively evaluating opportunities. Institutional adoption has ramped up. Traditional institutions, including Citigroup, Fidelity, JP Morgan, MasterCard, Morgan Stanley, and Visa are now offering or planning to offer crypto products. Platforms like PayPal and Shopify, meanwhile, are doubling down on payments and building infrastructure for daily transactions between merchants and customers. Again, we're just seeing so much growth in internet native companies preparing for internet native money. Beyond direct offerings, major fintechs, including Circle, Robinhood, Stripe, are actively developing or have announced plans to develop new blockchains focused on payments, real world assets, and stable coins. So we can look, coming in here, some of the largest financial institutions are embracing crypto. Circle, Robinhood, BlackRock, Fidelity, Stripe, Visa, PayPal, MasterCard, Revolut, Shopify, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley. Suffice it to say, if you're in finance, if money moving is part of your business, you need to wake the fuck up and get on this train. Now, exchange-traded funds have over $170 billion of on-chain crypto holdings today, up 169% from a year ago. A lot of this is BlackRock's iShare Trust, but hell yeah, let's go. I mean, this is a very valid way to, if you're holding Bitcoin or Ethereum and you say, I don't want the public key risk, I mean, this is something I personally vibe with. You can commit those cryptos in return for shares. This allows you, if you have a money manager, financial manager, they can oversee this. It can become part of a traditional portfolio. You can borrow against it. So this really does unlock a lot of the value held inside of cryptos. And of course, you've got the publicly traded digital asset treasuries, or DATs, now collectively hold about 4% of the total Bitcoin and Ethereum in circulation. So like absolutely wild. And we can see that here, look, Bitcoin still king, right? Master has $73 fucking billion, with Ethereum's top one topping out at 11 billion, and Forward, which is helmed by Multicoin's Kyle Samani, 1.4 billion. But I mean, there's no reason to believe that these guys ain't coming for the throne, because remember, Bitcoin crossed the Rubicon as a store of value, but it doesn't do much in programmatic composability. ETH and Sol kill it at that. Now, of course, stablecoins went mainstream, and I think everybody has watched me talk about it, but they now rival the world's largest payment networks in transaction volume. So PayPal does 1.7 trillion, Visa 16 trillion, stablecoins, holy moly, 46 trillion unadjusted, let's say 9 trillion, which would mean, again, for payments only versus like financial features. So definitely well over PayPal and coming for Visa's throne. And then ACH, which does interbank transfers and such. I mean, all we got to do is 2x this, and why not? If we've seen 160% growth over the last year, it's not far off. So adoption is accelerating. Spot crypto trading volume versus stablecoin transaction volume. We're getting growth. Stablecoins are breaking the correlation to broader trading volumes, a sign of organic adoption. This is coming back again to holding your wealth and to employing your wealth in the digital sphere inside of DeFi. The total stablecoin supply is also at record highs at 300 billion. Tether and the USDC account for 87% of the supply. 72 billion in stablecoin transactions were settled on Ethereum and Tron. I mean, isn't this nuts? Tron is like a bad fork of Ethereum from the 2017 era. But again, developing nations are using it because it's virtually free. The fees are extremely low and it's mobile first. So Tether and USDC dominate today. But of course, there are new forces coming into terms. Now, stablecoins are already a top 20 holder of US Treasuries. Guys, this is absolutely nuts. If the United States is concerned about its dollar, or concerned about the hegemony and the dominance that they have because they are losing the petrodollar status, I mean, this is just tremendous. They want buyers of their T-bills. And of course, this allows anyone across the world to use the US dollar as a savings account. It's truly phenomenal. So meanwhile, the US national debt is surging as global demand for that debt wanes. But for the first time in 30 years, foreign central banks hold more reserves in gold than in US Treasuries. So where do we come in? Stablecoins are bucking the trend. Over 99% of stablecoins are in USD. They're projected to grow more than 10x to 3 trillion by 2030. So look, the US dollar would be in a much worse place if we did not have this tech. And of course, when we look at this 99.8% being denominated in USD, that is demand for the US dollar. That is something that keeps the United States up and running. Crypto is stronger than ever in the US. We have the Genius Act and the Clarity. I've talked about the Genius Act, so I won't cover it again, but it does give us stable coins. And Clarity, well, it's getting into a little bit of a fight right now. Apparently, what passed in the House is being completely revamped in the Senate. It's unsavory. The Democrats are again assaulting it. There was even a flare-up supposedly in a closed-door meeting earlier in the week where one of the senators who was funded by a crypto PAC was saying, hey, we don't want crypto to be an arm of the Republican Party and that we want it to be nonpartisan. But unfortunately, it is the Democrats who forced the partisan nature. Early crypto adopters, totally libertarian. After that waned a little bit, it was very Democrat heavy. I mean, remember, Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF, he donated mostly to the Dems. So pretty wild that they turned on us so aggressively. But if we can get Clarity signed into law, then we can do a lot more with that revenue return, with that real value. And that's what we want to see. The regulatory environment is clearing a path for builders to realize the potential of new tokens, a new digital primitive akin to what websites were for previous generations of the internet. So this is pretty great because we can now see the value generation of money in motion in its digital format. Total fees paid by crypto users, 33 billion. Revenue generated by crypto projects, 18 billion. Revenue accruing to tokens, 4 billion. What we really want to do is take this whole 33 billion of fees and put it towards revenue accruing to tokens. Let's keep in mind, a lot of early validator-based networks, this money would have gone to the validators. In a proof of work time, I mean, it's very interesting. I love myself proof of work, but like we're seeing with the collapse of Cadena recently, that a lot of this money actually went to people that were just kind of tourists, and they set up their buddies as validators and they sent that capital. But we want revenue accruing tokens to capture this money because that means anyone can go buy that token and begin saving for their life, depending on the quality of the project. The world is coming on chain. The DeFi industry is growing. Crypto is shifting from centralized exchanges to decentralized exchanges. And this is the share of decentralized exchange spot volume. So now we're looking at close to 20%, and we want to see this. Remember, we know that Binance was at the root of that flash crash 2 Fridays ago. DEXs are absolutely the way to go. Keep in mind, a centralized exchange takes those fees, those trading fees, and they just keep it for themselves. DEXs are able to pass this on to the user. And of course, Hyperliquid is a major part of this growth that we're seeing. And they go on right here to say perpetual future trading volume. Hyperliquid, right, is the leading perps exchange with revenue generating more than 1 billion. So perps become a popular product among crypto speculators and natural evolution of DeFi. And there's even talks about how to bring perps to the traditional markets. Basically, it's a new financial primitive that's a big unlock versus options. Now, RWAs, they're going nuts because people are realizing that the blockchain foundation is just a better financial rail. So real world assets are bridging traditional finance with crypto, 30 billion already on chain. So super, super cool. They talk about DePIN. I don't really want to get into that as much, but post-election traction shows prediction markets are here to stay. Look, we call sheet getting investment terms at like $12 billion. Polymarket looking at like a $15 billion valuation. And it turns out that DARPA actually used to use prediction markets to figure out some of the future performance that might happen. So these things are pretty big. Over 13 million meme coins have been launched in the past year, a symptom of crypto's lack of regulated market frameworks. And this is actually a little sad, in my opinion, because the regulation pushed us to memes, to things without fundamental value. And we call this the meme coin trenches, and in my opinion is sort of the saddest point in crypto history. Now, the NFT market volume, look, they're saying the buyers are still here. NFT monthly active buyers is increasing, and this is on Base and a couple other chains, right? It used to be Ethereum only, but that's kind of funny because we had this NFT volume peak, and obviously it's not here, but what we are seeing is blue chip collectibles. So whether that be CryptoPunks, anything coming from the art blocks, like real mature art collectors are respecting this digital ownership. Of course, you can display them on any sort of screen. And it doesn't matter if somebody right-click saves. They don't have ownership of that. Blockchain infrastructure almost ready for prime time. And they're talking about now processing more than 3,400 transactions per second, approaching the scale of some of the largest financial systems. And they're talking about NASDAQ. They're talking about Stripe on Black Friday. Credit card transactions, obviously insane, but they will get there. There's no reason to pay 2 to 3% fees. You can just pay these blockchains barely anything. Solana becomes a hub. Okay, they're talking about growth, and Ethereum with its L2s. Sure. Billions of dollars are flowing between blockchains as bridging and infrastructure become more robust. We do want to see this. We want to see all the chains just become interoperable. But of course, at the end of the day, an AI agent can just kind of take this load for you. You say, hey, man, go buy something with my Ethereum on Solana, and it just handles that conversions. Crypto privacy begins to increase. We can see this in Zcash supply of shielded pools, which means they shield the transaction information. And ZK proofs, this is my favorite part, have become critical to blockchain privacy and scaling, fueling a rapid acceleration in technical progress. Now, likewise, zero knowledge and succinct proof systems are rapidly evolving from decades-old academic research. This was something that tech tried in the past, and they kind of gave up on it because there wasn't a real ROI for it. But blockchains have a great use case for ZK proofs. Again, zero knowledge, basically saying, can we abstract all of the data? And this is something that can supplant KYC AML. And remember, you're getting spammed on your phone, on your email, day in, day out because of these regulations that require these companies to collect all of your information. And then, of course, they get hacked and exploited. And ZK can simply approve or disapprove somebody by proving, are they valid? Are they able to enter into this contractual agreement? And the proof will say yay or nay without revealing all of that information so that it cannot get exploited. There's, in fact, a great report that I will also cover coming from Andreessen Horowitz, which is why ZK can replace KYC AML. This is something I'm really passionate about. And of course, blockchains are preparing for the transition to quantum secure cryptography. This is very necessary. We just had the Google announcement around quantum, and that's all very fun. Now, AI and crypto are converging, all sorts of reality here. But, the end of the day is that protocol standards such as X402, which I spoke about just yesterday, are emerging as a potential financial backbone for autonomous AI agents. X402, for anyone that doesn't know, is basically building in crypto payments to the entire internet to make it a basic function of the web. No longer is there going to be a pop-up where you have to enter your credit card information. It's just basically going to say, do you want to pay? Your crypto wallet will pop up, you'll sign a transaction, and boom, you can get past a paywall, you can make a purchase, whatever you so desire. Now, meanwhile, AI's compute layer is consolidating around a handful of tech giants, and they talk about how scary it is that all of our data is really being captured by a few companies, right? Basically the Magnificent Seven. But blockchain offers a counterbalance, which is, again, the inferencing, the conversations that we have when we ask an AI. Those can be either stored behind a ZK wall so that nobody can actually know what we're asking the AI, or we can train it on data sets that are decentralized. That's something that's very tough and is a nut being cracked right now. Look at Jake Bruckman from CoinFund, their CEO, but he is very adamant on decentralized training. We want people to be able to train with all their data, but without it to be kind of pegged to our identity to steal our souls, if you will. And of course, there's some conversation around crypto talent getting lost to AI. I think that's pretty straightforward, but they're talking about what comes next. And of course, TradFi and fintech adoption in crypto will continue to accelerate. Stablecoins will upgrade legacy systems and democratize financial access globally. And new consumer products will build the next wave of crypto. And they've just got all these great graphs and charts, which is total value locked. And we can see Ethereum is still crushing it with the TVL, right? This is all DeFi and people holding stablecoin dollars. Mobile wallet users up and to the right. I mean, look, we all want to use crypto predominantly on our phones. We're living in a mobile first world. Blockchains, yeah, they're getting competitive, but what a fun little visual, right? We have near monad other chains, but Solana, Ethereum, Base, Bitcoin, still predominantly the largest. Builder energy by category, where they at? DeFi, and this makes the most sense because this is the autonomous finance that we're building. Builder energy, you can look at what sectors we're going into. And then, of course, locations. This is one of my favorite parts. Back in the day, crypto was entirely San Francisco. Everything going on was in SF, and New York has struggled with startups for such a long, long time. But look, New York is now representing 24% of the global crypto interest, and that is just awesome. We have some significant pockets elsewhere, but we can see that, Europe being other, UK has a decent percentage in London, but the US across the board is the dominant area. And it's been pretty crazy that for years, the US has been trying to assault these builders who just want to create a more democratic form of money that's increasingly accessible, that allows anyone to take out a loan without racial bias, gender bias, any sort of bias. And yet we have been slammed. But With the breakthrough of stablecoins defending the US dollar itself, with X402 making the entire internet crypto compatible, with Stripe opening up crypto payments to all vendors. I mean, look, if people want to accept payments through a tap to pay mechanism, the vendors are now going to be able to keep that like 2 to 3%. That's huge for people running businesses. So this has been a really robust report. I just like blew through it. I hope it was interesting to you. I've got it linked in my sources. As always, A16Z Crypto keeps a very tight eye on the sector. And with that being said, don't lever up, because all of those hyperliquid revenues are liquidations from over-levered people. And every day we see hundreds of millions of dollars in liquidation events. With that being said, give me a like and a sub. It would mean the world to me. And as always, I will see you tomorrow.